I call the 1,554th meeting of the General Student Senate to order. First, I will read the land acknowledgement. The University of Maine student government recognizes that it is located on Marsh Island in the homeland of Penobscot Nation, where issues of water and territorial rights and encroachment upon sacred sites are ongoing. Penobscot homeland is connected to the other Wabanaki tribal nations, the Passamaquoddy, Maliseet, and Micmac, through kinship, alliances, and diplomacy. The University of Maine student government also recognizes that the Penobscot Nation and other Wabanaki tribal nations are distinct, sovereign, legal, and political entities with their own powers of self-governance and self-determination. Next, the clerk will call the roll.
Ethan Crawford.
Here.
Cynthia Shelmerdine. Here. Nate Fang.
Here.
Memphis Peterson.
Here.
Jordan Thompson.
Here.
Neil Rocky. Kate Kemper. Here. Hayden Buzzell.
Here.
Samuel Brown.
Here.
Callie Warren. Here. Elizabeth Oldfield. Ralph Vaughn.
Here.
Zoe Stankovitz. Here. Pastor Harvey.
Here.
James Reader Stewart.
Here.
Bo Mishu.
Here.
Meredith Waters. Here. Karen Martone.
Here.
Kyle Ricker. Sean Jernigan.
Here.
Tim Burgerts.
Here.
Madeline Howard. Here. Michael Delors.
Here.
Eating Tripp.
Here.
Paige Allen. Here. Miles Moore. Julian Over.
Excused.
Jacob Kaplan.
Here.
Bob Carroll.
Excused.
Camden Olson.
Here.
Olivia Britton. Here. Riley Mills.
Here.
Kristen Brett.
Here.
Amanda Lebeck. Here. Jacob Harquist. Here. Emily Gett. Here. Natalie Thorne.
Excused.
John Guzman.
Excused.
Emery Clifford. Athalea. Here. Dylan DeMerchant.
Here.
Danny Tanaka.
Here.
Lori Sedilka. Here.
I am now looking for approval of the 03/05/24 minutes and this agenda. Senator Peterson.
I move to approve the 3/5/2024 minutes and this agenda.
Second. If that's the pleasure of the Senate, that's adopted. I do not have a Robert's Rules tip of the week. I've run out. If you guys have any questions, please send them to me. I can start reusing them, but I thought that would be redundant. Because while there are a lot of like very, very specific and like intricate rules, they don't really apply in this sense a lot of the times. So yeah, that's why there's none of that. We will move on to general good and welfare. Any non-member may address the GSS for not more than 5 minutes. Seeing none and seeing no new senators, officer appointments or resignations, we will move straight into club maintenance, starting with Chi Alpha for reactivation. However, I believe reactivation is just an SOC thing, correct? And that would just be in a report. So we're gonna skip that and move on to disability of campus for preliminary recognition. Yeah, we can take the floor is yours. Yeah.
Hi guys, my name is Lincoln Steiner. I'm a senior in the 4+1 program for history. I'm a transfer. I've been here for 2 years and I'm a disabled vet. We started this club together. This is my vice president here, Madeline Myers, if you want to introduce.
But I'm Madeline Myers. I'm an anthropology major. And I'm looking forward to being vice president of disability on campus.
We actually met last semester in the anthropology class while I was desperately trying to figure out how to pass it. And we realized that both as disabled students that we don't really have a place to be able to talk with one another about the issues that we see on campus. As you can tell, I'm a wheelchair user and I have a lot of physical disabilities, and there have been campuses, like parts of campus I've just been locked out of. I can't go to the bathroom. Things like that are really difficult, and Madeline has had plenty of her own really bad experiences, and we realized that actually in the history of the University of Maine, we can't find any history of having a club for people like us. So we got together and we decided we want to start one, disability on campus. And this isn't just for students who identify as having disabilities, it's also for our allies. Our main goal is really to come together and work on making campus more accessible for everyone, but also to educate and to support one another when facing challenges on campus that honestly, with the isolation we really face as a very small minority, that we have a lot of issues kind of going against it one-on-one, but as a group, we can actually make campus better. So that's kind of our main goal here. For our meetings and things like that, we really want to introduce like a news of the week sort of a discussion and talk about what's going on in the disabled community. I mean, we're a very small group. We don't get talked about all that much, especially when it comes to other minorities and things like that. So we really want to promote learning about what's affecting us in the moment And we want to kind of move on to like discussions and activities, like, do we see this issue on campus? Do we see like professors saying things to students that they shouldn't? Or, for example, I had a professor that denied the fact that I need a wheelchair and that I couldn't go to the bathroom. And I had to file a report and I had no idea how to do that and I didn't know who to talk to. Things like that we really want to talk about, like, where are we seeing this issue and how can our allies support us in the classroom when these things are happening? So if you want to do some of the stuff that you.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is kind of more on the topic of our membership and structure. We currently have 11 members, not including our executive committee, so not including 5 of us. Anyone who is disabled, an ally to the disabled, or those interested in learning about the disabled experience on campus are welcome to join. We would like to meet once a week in an accessible location, and our advisor is the wonderful Sarah Henry, who is the current director of Student Accessibility Services.
A lot of the topics that we're thinking about, just so you guys can get kind of like an idea of what we're really facing, is honestly, first we want to talk about a bit of the history of what's going on with disabled students, and also honestly why there hasn't been a group like us before. And we really want to talk about like, how do you be good allies? Like, I've had friends who have seen things in the classroom that have been said to me that they were like, Lincoln, I want to support you, but I don't know what to say. So really talking about like, hey, how do we all stand together? How do we go to SAS? I didn't even realize there was an SAS when I transferred here. I had no idea what that was. The military doesn't really do that sort of thing, right? Like things like that we really want to cover those conversations and really make sure that everybody has the support that they need on campus for making it actually accessible for everyone.
We're really focused on community outreach and advocacy. So what we're looking for is our executive team will keep note of major issues being discussed and workshop actions that can be taken to help fix these issues. Then we'll go through a stage of proposal where we'll propose these actions during the following meeting and have our secretary send out an interest form for members to voice their opinion. And then our third and final stage that we obviously hopefully get to is to take action, where our team of executive members will facilitate outreach to integral on-campus communities for enacting gains in accessibility.
And that last part is really key because we are already very isolated, right? We want to bring people like us and our allies together, but we also want to work with other groups as well to make events accessible, things like that. I mean, I was just meeting with Colleen Fraser to talk about how do we make the involvement fair, for example, accessible? How do we work with them? Because both of us had to leave early last year because we couldn't get around on the mud because we were having so many issues with our disabilities. Things like that, where we really want to work together with other people so we can all learn to look good. Everybody's involved in whatever they want to be involved in.
Overall, disability on campus would bring together students with disabilities and those who support us in order to promote greater discussions on the challenges that we face. If we were to sum it up in 2 words, the ultimate goal would be accessibility and inclusivity.
Thank you guys for listening.
Do we have any questions for our speakers? Senator Kemper.
How many members do you currently have?
We have around 11 without our executive team.
That number has since increased. So
Okay,
since
so-
we just last day, we actually have a couple new members now. We've been adding members literally like every other day because this is a pretty interesting thing to be a part of for people. But yeah, no, she's absolutely right. The last reported one that we've submitted was 11 members.
Any further questions? Representative Levesque.
What time do you guys meet and where?
We haven't been able to figure that out yet.
Well, we're still working on people's schedules for next semester because obviously we can't.
We know in
How to
time for
predict
our
that until-
executive team
Yeah.
that when we can meet, and we actually want to meet in this building because so many of the buildings on campus aren't accessible. So we have a meeting with Colleen Fraser about that as well. But as of right now, no, we do not have an official time to meet because we need to be able to figure out what people's schedules are.
Any further questions? Seeing none, what is the committee's recommendation?
400 ought to pass.
Senator Peterson,
I move to accept the committee's recommendation.
Second.
if that's the pleasure of the Senate, that's adopted. We'll now move into a period for discussion. Seeing none, a period for debate. Senator Warren.
As someone that does have a disability, as one that knows multiple people with disabilities that have had so many accessibility issues on this campus, I think it's really amazing and inspiring to see student leaders coming together and making this campus a better and more inclusive place. We all deserve the ability and the equity to be able to access this campus, access our classes, access our buildings. And I just think that this will bring nothing but positivity to this campus.
Senator Stewart.
Yes, I actually agree quite a lot with Senator Warren. I think that this club has shown great braveness and it's very honorable, and not recognizing them would only be shameful or
Any further points of debate, Representative Leck?
As somebody who knows both Madeline and Lincoln, we know one another quite well. I would love to see this continue forward and continue to do some really, really amazing work. And like they said, it's not just for people who have disabilities, it's for their allies as well, which is something that I think every group needs, and I think that we should absolutely support this.
Any further points of debate, Senator Crawford?
At SOC, this was the most like prepared I've ever seen the club. They came in with a presentation and everything, so they obviously put a lot of effort into this. This is good to see.
Any further, Representative Merchant?
Excuse me. To cite back to a further example, I had actually met with Lincoln and Madeline when we were going through the process of getting their club recognized. And this club has brought up so many good points, and you know, with USMG, like through seeing the meetings, there hasn't really been discussion around disability and accessibility for disabled students, and it's not for our own fault. It's just those perspectives hasn't been being added onto USMG, and my hope is, you know, with this club being added on, hopefully that there could be some collaboration with us and the club for bringing these issues forward and getting action going. I mean, to cite for like one example that I didn't raise earlier, and it's a crime that it didn't, the fact that SAS was moved to on the other side of campus, and it's say if I was living in York and I was wheelchair bound, how in the world am I gonna get over to SAS without having to get a phone call and see someone in person? So honestly, I would be completely in favor of this club being recognized fully.
Any further points of debate? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? All those abstaining? Seeing a clear majority in the affirmative, that passes. We'll move on. You guys are free to stay or leave. It's totally up to you guys, but thank you for coming. And we'll move on to our guest speaker for the night, our very own Paige Allen, our Vice President for Financial Affairs.
Hi everyone, I'd first like to apologize for my outfit as I had lunch in my bag with the shirt that I was going to wear and it spilled to my shirt. So that's why I'm wearing a sweatshirt and I apologize for that. My lunch was really good though. So hi everyone, today I'm going to be discussing the annual budget and subsequent general student senate meeting on April 2nd, which is 2 weeks from today. I'm going to start with a basic overview of the financial policies. Of course, this should all be, of course, this is a review of our policies, so everyone should be familiar with everything that I'm going to say. But I did want to go through the process just so that everyone is prepared for the meeting in 2 weeks. So as student government, we're tasked with redistributing $62 of the $78 activity fee back to students. The rest of the activity fee goes to the campus radio, CSI and other Indian campus, I believe, through events and student-run organizations. Our financial policies are the rules that dictate how we can distribute funding. These policies, like all of our other policies, are a living document, meaning that they're open to amendments, just like our constitution or our hiring policies or any other policies that we have. But they are, like our other rules, binding. And as a 501c3 organization, we're audited by the IRS in accordance with our policies. Therefore, we do need to strictly adhere to them at all times because it's very important. In the financial policies, there are both general guidelines and specific dollar amounts for financial requests. For example, the financial policies dictate that we can spend a maximum of $12.50 per person on food for events. They also state that clubs need to ask their departments for funding before they come to student government. So sort of like both sides of the coin there. There's very specific policies and then there's also sort of like general stuff. An abbreviated version of the financial policies is available in the Senate space and also on our website. I highly recommend that everyone read over them again before the budget meeting. Even people who have been here for a long time, it's always good to have a refresher. Excuse me. So there is a section of the financial policies that are specific to the annual budget. So I'll just go through those now. The VPFA, which is myself at the moment, set a budget timetable for the annual budget. This was published to the Senate space, and sent out to various campus stakeholders on January 18th. In the timetable, budget forms were made available on February 9th, with budget office hours available with me, from February 9th to March 1st. Budgets were due Friday, March 8th at noon, which was the Friday before spring break. So that was sort of like the first half of the budget timetable. Last night, which was March 18th, EDC met with all 38 club sports, rep boards, community associations, and division of UMSG Inc. To make recommendations to the General Student Senate, meeting with each club, going through the request, and if needed, sort of adjusting it to fit our financial policies like we normally do at EDC, or just sort of like discussing it. Didn't get the chance to send out those emails to the clubs today, but I will be doing that tomorrow. On the timetable, if anyone looked at it, this is called the preliminary annual budget proposal. Next week at EDC, a couple budgets that were tabled last night will be reviewed, and amended if needed and approved. Additionally, if any rep board, club sport, et cetera, division of student government, has an issue with their budgets, they can request, additional presentation to student government again at next week's EDC. No one's ever done that in the time that I've been here, but it's certainly an option to everyone sitting in the room. This will be Monday, March 25th, which is a week from yesterday, at 4 p.m. On Wednesday, March 27th, so that's a week from tomorrow, senators will be able to, and anyone else in student government, will be able to review the EDC approved budget, in the financial affairs office before a presentation to the student senate. So I highly recommend, if you are interested, we are all gonna have to sit through it anyways, it's better to be prepared, to come to the office and take a look at it, maybe gather some preliminary thoughts or things that you might want to discuss. It will be available, next Wednesday, which is the Wednesday before the meeting. On April 2nd, which is 2 weeks from today, the annual budget special meeting will commence. Clubs, divisions, and representative boards of UMSG will present their budgets, along with EDC's recommendations, and that will go before the Senate. As I said to clubs that came in last night, if EDC cut your budget, that is also your chance to make your case to the Senate, just like any other EDC request that we see throughout the year, and say, like, this is why we need this funding, it's important, and the senator can reintroduce the line item or increase it if they wish. But that has to be a senator. And then if the annual budget does not pass on April 2nd, it will continue on April 9th, during Senate, which is just the week later. The budget proposal by EDC is a conservative estimate based on projected enrollment for next year. While I have not received enrollment figures yet, they are coming by the 24th, I believe. I was in contact with the person today. Enrollment projections are trending downward, which isn't great. But it is something important to consider throughout this annual budget process, that enrollment is sort of trending down for next year for a various number of reasons. The annual budget consists of at least the following sections. The annual budget, just like point blank period, the budget for legal services, which is our attorney Sean O'Mara's budget, for all the various things that he has to do. The annual budgets for all the divisions of student entertainment and various student organizations. The budgets for all boards and community associations. The annual budgets for eligible committees of UMSG Inc. So like membership has a budget for food. The annual budgets for all eligible clubs, which is office budgets. You can submit an office budget in advance, and many clubs did, so they'll have access to those funds. The first day of school, which is great if they want to use stuff at the org fair, things like that. The annual budget for all sports clubs, any compensation and insurance expenses for the fiscal year, and any current contracted special allocations. So these are things that we know we're gonna spend money on. It's an expected cost and it's gonna be put in the annual budget rather than coming to EPC in the fall. And the total of these expenditures shall not exceed revenue, right? So that's just sort of like basic math. You don't want to over allocate because then we won't have any unallocated. So EBC is responsible for sponsoring a resolution to pass the final version of the annual budget as a single non-divisible resolution, which is pretty important. So I'll just talk through what that means. Like when a regular club will come to EBC and Senate and make a financial request, we take a vote on their individual request. And then we move on to the next request, and then the next request, you know, so on and so forth. The annual budget is technically one resolution. So while we're like, we systematically go line by line and people vote line by line on like whether they think, you know, whatever club or community association, if they agree with that funding, at the end of the day, you vote on the annual budget as a whole, and you either vote to pass it or you vote to not pass it. It says one single resolution, which is cool and a little weird. But boards, community associations, clubs, committees, etc., requesting money from the annual budget are given time to present on their budgets during the General Student Senate meeting. So in 2 weeks, all of the club sports will be here. So the room will be pretty full, and all of the rep boards and people within student government who have submitted budgets, with the exception of Sean, because I'll present his budget, will come and they'll give a presentation of their budget, because that is A, in the rules, and B, it should be something that they're allowed to do because they know their organization's best. The GSS may strike any line from the annual budget, including a line, provided that no contractual or other legal obligations are neglected. So you can't strike something that we legally have to do. And that the financial policies are strictly adhered to at all times. So you can't strike something that's required by our financial policies. But theoretically, you can strike anything else. And that's senators, just like normal. The GSS may also reduce or increase the dollar amount of any budget category, provided that there are other obligations or obligations that are being neglected. But again, we can't exceed revenue because that would be bad. Office budgets are $200, just like normal. And then a couple other things that are in the financial policies that do pertain to the annual budget that are sort of new and under that category of special allocations, which are sort of things that we know are going to come every year, but aren't necessarily like normal EBC requests / sort of like pertain throughout the whole year and are not like specific to an event, I guess I'll say. So last year I worked to write this into the financial policies and it was accepted, obviously, because I'm reading it. But a set amount of student activity fee dollars will be set aside in the annual budget for outdoor clubs. This amount will be an estimate of the club's collective needs, including but not limited to gear, storage supplies for gear, and safety equipment. The BPFA and EDC will decide this dollar amount using an estimate from the prior 2 semesters to better reflect the actual unallocated for the upcoming fiscal year. Outdoor clubs may end up receiving more than the allocated amount at the discretion of EDC through the regular additional funding request process. What that means, basically, we haven't really had this come up too much this year. But my first 2 years in student government, we had a lot of outdoor clubs coming in and requesting funding, mostly for gear, because inherently their activities require gear. And EBC and myself thought that it would be a good idea, because the whole point of the annual budget is to get a more accurate like prediction of our unallocated figure, to set aside a specific amount of money for outdoor club needs, so that we had a better idea of our unallocated. So last year, I believe we set aside $5,000, but I'm pretty, yeah, that was it, okay, thank you. And we only had, I think, one club pull from that line. It was the same as pulling from unallocated, but it's just like in a separate section. Obviously, this year's number will be a bit more conservative because we haven't had many requests, but again, that's just sort of to get a better idea of the unallocated figure. So that's something, an example of something that would be under that like special allocations item, but it's not really being allocated, it's just being taken out of unallocated, if that makes sense. And then sports clubs. So sports clubs are very interesting, in terms of financial policies and otherwise, if you enjoy sports. They receive support through Campus Rec, and also student government, depending on their tier. The funds are distributed based on line item budgets, and the amount that each club receives from campus recreation or student gov is determined by the tier the club belongs to. So what that means is that campus rec and student government sort of work together to help club sports succeed on campus. They have sort of unique needs. They're a lot more active than usual clubs. They require a lot more travel, other things like that, more gear, more liability. People get hurt playing sports. But anyways, sports clubs are required to fundraise and volunteer to sort of the amount that they feel is parallel to their needs from student government. So Campus Rec sets 5 tiers, tiers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And tier 1 is the highest tier, and tier 5 is the lowest tier. So I play field hockey, and we are currently tier 2. And what that means is that we have to complete 150 hours of community service and fundraise $1,000 to be eligible to ask for to receive funding from student government. And then we don't determine which tiers sports clubs fall into. That's set at Campus Rec. They have their own guidelines, but we have decided as student government to accept the recommendations from Campus Recreation and fund based on the tiers that people are sorted into. So club sports have up until I think the last day of finals week to get all of their fundraising and volunteering done. They come and ask for their budgets ahead of time, and then if they don't meet the guidelines, they get bumped down to their subsequent tier. Tier 1, we discussed this earlier in the year, but I know we have many new faces. Tier 1 is $10,000, and that's 300 hours of community service and $2,000 in fundraising. Tier 2 is $5,000 from student government, and I already mentioned those totals. And then tier 3, I believe, is 50 hours and $500 worth of fundraising, but I'm going to check on that next week. And then tiers 4 and 5 are completely supported by Campus Rec. And usually clubs will sort themselves, or they'll aim for specific tiers depending on the needs of their sport and how competitive their team is. Sorry for the voice crack. But for example, hockey, men's hockey, their sport is inherently very expensive and they're a very competitive team. They take themselves really seriously, so they always try to go for tier 1 because they do need the $10,000. Their operating budget is like $30,000. So that's the club sports spiel. But club sports may end up receiving more than the allotted amount at discretion of EBC and General Student Senate through a regular additional funding request process. The VPFA, EBC, and the GSS retain the right to reject or accept any and all additional funding requests outside of the tier system. So what this means is most club sports don't like necessarily budget to go to nationals, which is why we see some nationals requests from clubs. That's not something that they're like normally doing. And it is very expensive to go to nationals usually because nationals usually are not located in the great state of Maine. So a lot of times clubs will come in who are attending nationals and they'll ask for more funding, and obviously that's at the discretion of EBC and the Senate. So this concludes the policy portion of the annual budget. That's everything that's listed in the financial policies. I'm almost done, I promise. Next, I'm gonna discuss some things that I think the Senate should keep in mind, when we go over the budget on April 2nd, including some sort of like precedents around the budget, and new things that we're doing this year. So almost all the budget will be done in public session, making it streamable on YouTube, recorded, posted on our website, and available for viewing by students and the general public. However, it's in certain full-time employees' contracts that their salaries are not to be made public, and discussing these numbers in public session is against their contracts and would open us to legal liability. Therefore, the salary portion of the annual budget would be an executive session, along with the final allocation of those, because you could sort of do the math and figure it out. The salaries of our student workers are obviously public knowledge. You can find that online. So it's just the salaries of our 3 full-time employees. We've introduced the pay-to-play system this year for group sports who pay to practice. So using ice hockey as an example again, any sport that involves ice, it's not free to rent the outfront or any other space because of the maintenance implied with ice. EDC will be doing some work on the pay-to-play sort of like system. Next week at EDC as far as codifying process and possible policy goes. But requests from club sports for pay-to-play funding will be entertained during the annual budget under that like sort of special allocations line to ensure a smoother process for next year. And then just sort of to wrap up, the annual budget is meant to be a starting point for representative boards, community associations, divisions of UMSG, et cetera. Clubs are definitely encouraged to come back and ask for funding next year. The annual budget is for next year, if that wasn't clear. The annual budget is meant to get a more accurate picture of our unallocated figure by accounting for events that we are, tried and true or guaranteed going to happen. These estimates are meant to be sort of conservative because we're not entirely sure what enrollment will look like, along with membership in specific groups, fluctuating membership year to year, leadership, things like that. Unless the line item was cut entirely by EBC or the General Student Senate, clubs, et cetera, can come back and ask for more funding for any event that's in their annual budget or new events entirely. And I believe that is the end of my presentation, unless people have any questions, and I will be dropping these notes into the Senate space so that people can review them before the meeting in case you want to hear this twice.
We have questions for BKFA Allen, Senator Ricker.
Yeah, this is a bit of an open question, I guess, in case you want to like weigh in on it, I guess. But do you think it's a good idea for us to skip reports on April 2nd so we go to the student speakers who report in the budget?
That's a great question. It's something that I should have included in the report. The years that I've been in student government, I believe the 2 years that I've been in student government, traditionally someone has made a motion to skip reports on the night of the annual budget meeting because we do have quite a full agenda. The point has been made in the past that April 2nd, the beginning of April is a really intense time for student government and the time where like a lot of projects are coming to fruition, people want feedback on things, et cetera, et cetera. But to make it a smoother process, I think I would be in favor of skipping reports, but then establishing like a set norm that people who do have important reports / things that can't be achieved in the Senate space, can give them during like, not general good welfare, whatever one's at the end.
Special orders.
Yes, that. But also because the Senate space, we could also compile the reports in a document, and I think that would be great. So I guess I would answer that by saying, I think the information that people have to give during a report should still be made available, but we should recognize that we do have a lot to do on that date and that people are giving up a lot of their time that night.
And I think too, at least this was kind of a plan that I made and haven't shared with anybody, but I'm gonna share it now. We did it once, I think it was the beginning of this semester when we missed that first meeting and all of the execs put our reports on one document. I'll probably have us do that again and then have printed copies for those available too, for your review, but we just won't give them in the meeting. Any further questions? Advisor Sidelko.
Just a follow-up on that, you can also do that as a paper meeting and have Jeff send it out as minutes so that everybody gets them as well. To like all the people that are not here but read them. So that My follow-up question is, it sounds like a very thorough and long meeting. So could I request some more diversity of snacks and drinks for that very long meeting?
That you absolutely could request it, and that would be up to the discretion of our membership chair.
All in favor?
Any further questions? Representative Merchant.
So, given the fact that the meeting is long and you said that there was an extension meeting on the 9th, what is the cutoff time for when we would have to shift that meeting over? Or is that simply with a motion from a senator to adjourn the meeting and table the rest of it to? Okay.
Yeah, oh, sorry, no, I was nodding because I was thinking, in my time in student government, we've never utilized the second date. We've always done it in one night. Honestly, I think we have a really great EBC this year. We did a really great work last night, and I think that hopefully, you know, knock on wood, the budget process will go smoothly. And hopefully we won't have to utilize that, April 9th date. Last year, we had some like extracurricular things going on. So the meeting was very long. I think we got here at like 11. But I don't foresee us going over like 3.5 hours, honestly, would be my guess.
There you go. Any further questions for BPFAL? Seeing none, thank you for giving everybody a little taste of what we're gonna be doing in a few weeks. All right, we will now move on to executive reports, starting with the president.
Good evening, everyone. I'll keep my report brief tonight. Been working on a lot of stuff, but really only 2 things are relevant for tonight's meeting. Applications for all executive positions are due this Thursday at midnight. If you're an executive and your position is up for rehire, can you please raise your hand? Okay, so if any of you are interested in applying for executive positions, those are the ones that are up for grabs. They're also all on our Instagram. Again, the due date is Thursday night at midnight. Share with your friends, share the post on your Instagram. Jeff has indicated that we have some good applications in, or some applications, and he didn't really tell me the quality. But please, you know, continue applying, tell your friends. Also, like I've indicated, I'm going to continue working on interview questions for those positions. I have been asked that senators be able to give input on the specific interview questions that will be tailored to each position. I think that's a great idea. I'm fine with that. But hopefully you can understand the conflict of interest that could come of that. If someone is suggesting an interview question, but is also applying, I am not allowed to make the hiring questions known for each position publicly. That's just standard hiring practice. But if you would like to provide a suggestion to me on a specific question that you think should be in a particular interview for a particular position, email it to me. Happy to workshop it with you and potentially include that for years to come for a specific position. Happy to answer any questions about that. Last thing, there's a main motion coming tonight. You'll see on the agenda, appropriating money for 2 coach buses down to Boston on Friday night for providing transportation to 110, 112 undergrads to UMain's playoff game against Boston University at TD Garden. So we're going to be talking about that. I'll give my spiel on that later, but just know that that's coming. Worked on that a lot today, and I have lots of good info for you on that. That's the end of my report.
We'll move on to my report. First of all, I hope everyone had a lovely spring break. And I hope we're all ready to take on the next 6 or so weeks to the end of the semester. I have compiled the outdoor club storage survey. And for those involved, I'll be sending it to kind of the stakeholders that have been working on that. And then reaching out to BPFA Allen, BPSO Over, and Advisor Sedelco to have our follow-up meeting with that. If any of you guys would like to be involved, feel free to let me know. I would gladly have you. On top of that, I did compile it into a report. It's not super pertinent right now, but if anybody wants to see that, reach out to me. I'll send it to you, no problem. Next, the one-on-ones are wrapping up. Thank you to everybody who has done them. I enjoyed them just as much as I did last time. It's been great getting to pick some of your guys' brains on what we think UMSG should be focusing on and what the future of it looks like. It looks very bright and I'm very excited to see where it goes. But I will also be compiling those into a little report for the exec team, both current and incoming, just so that they can kind of take a peek at what are the ideas and concepts that people have. I've asked kind of specific questions about what our goals should be for the rest of the semester, but also going into next year. And I think that would be helpful to kind of mull over for anybody taking leadership positions in this organization. Next, I am continuing to move forward with VP Chaplin on the Syllabus Bank project. We are going to have a meeting at some point to kind of play around with the website that exists now, which is super exciting. I don't know if we reported on that yet, but I'll let Vice President Chaplin kind of explain that more. And then lastly, and this happened earlier today, I discussed with Dean Dana and Andrea Gifford regarding the cleanliness of facilities. I know that we touched base on this in the last, I believe in the last meeting, we did touch base on this. Did we not? Maybe not. Okay, we did. All right, thank you. I think we did, but I kind of brought it up, and specifically, I brought up the couches in the Wade Center. First of all, I wanted to thank Tristan for bringing it all to our attention. That's super good. But I've been promised that the couches will be promptly taken care of. So that's exciting. Again, not on our dime, on the university's dime. And I will be following up with Student Life in the future to continue the conversation about increasing the facilities and its cleanliness, because we have been complaining, not just from CANS members, but other student orgs in this campus have complained of similar issues. And that is the end of my report. We'll now move on to the Vice President for Financial Affairs.
Hi, everyone. EBC met last night to approve annual budget requests that will appear at Senate on April 2nd. Big thanks to everyone on EBC. It was quite a long meeting, but it was very productive. Emails for changes to budgets are being sent out to clubs, rep boards, divisions of student government, etc. Tomorrow, didn't quite get to it today. Just a reminder that the annual budget, I already said that during today. I had my first recurring meeting with CFO and Chief Business Officer Glenn Sparks over break. I updated her on student government's goings on, and we primarily discussed the campus-wide fiscal year 2025 budget. The budget proposal that's going to the Board of Trustees is online on the board's website under the FFT committee, and then on the March 20th materials. I would definitely implore everyone to check it out, especially if you're gonna be sticking around. VP Sparks stated that there'd be a budget-specific town hall, which I believe the email went out about today from Lori or yesterday. And VP Sparks is proposing, just sort of generally, we talked about, and she also talked about it when she was here, cutting down on spaces and sort of like consolidating around campus, and making campus a little bit more efficient to close the budget deficits, rather than like laying off people. And she's proposing that to the board. So I would definitely check out that report. It was very thorough and on the board's website. And also be attending that session if you're interested in that sort of thing. In the works of scheduling another cheer meeting for next week, still working on Sean's contract and the gear storage conversation and a report.
We'll move on to the Vice President for Student Organizations.
Hello, everyone. I apologize if you emailed me today. My computer decided it wanted to stop working today, which was super beneficial for everyone. So if you emailed me today, I will get back to you this evening, as I've had some quick trips to Best Buy in between. For my more traditional report, Pi Alpha has been reactivated by the Student Organizations Committee. I am moving my office hours around, and if my computer works, I will tell you what those are now, but I'm just going to use that space later. I have several meetings set up with the Center for Student Involvement to talk about more specifically for student organizations, just because it's ease and efficiency for everyone. To talk about what Vice President Tripp said about the cleanliness on campus. I'm also currently talking with several club sports about this issue on campus. Over the last month or so, I've been able to go and attend several student organization meetings and see the club members face to face and get some get some more issues that they would like to focus on, which I think is important. And so I have a list of things that I am working on, but it's mostly preliminary things such as me sending emails and asking questions right now, and then we'll let you know when I have something a little bit more tangible. Gear storage is chugging along, but it is a slow process, so bear with us. And we have 4 clubs coming to SOC tomorrow, so that's exciting.
Moving on to the Vice President for Student Entertainment.
Hi, everyone. Miles is not here this week, so I'm giving the student entertainment report. For the Joe Gatto comedy show, I tabled in the Union today from 10 to 12, and we do the same on Thursday. Other tabling dates are March 26th, March 28th, April 2nd, and April 4th. All of them are 10 to 12. We have an unofficial count of 295 people already signed up. You can get the tickets on the Instagram, at the door of the concert, which is April 5th, and at the box office of the CCA. So all your friends should go, because it's gonna be fun, it's funny. On Friday, there is a Mario Kart tournament in the esports arena from 5 to 8. We will need volunteers from senators because the people that work in the esports arena are work study and they cannot be given any more time. So senators volunteering is important. So talk to me during like the 5-minute recess or something if you're able to. That's not just senators, they meant reps too. Anybody, please volunteer. That's been, please. Additionally, this past couple of weeks, I've been working on the food trucks for Maine Day. We're looking to have 5 food trucks. I've gotten confirmation from 4, but if you guys will notice in the Senate chat, there is a form for you guys to fill out, so you guys can decide the 5th one. So please fill that out because that is important, because I think it is. No, I mean, I just want diversity within the food and not having just food trucks that I think are fun, so you guys' opinions are very vital to that. And lastly, I believe that since it passed at last meeting, there should be a section on here for SEC membership nominations.
Yeah, there isn't, but there's gonna be a motion to it.
That sounds perfect. End of report.
Awesome. All right, moving on to the Vice President for Student Leadership.
Hey guys, the Student Speaker Showcase is happening this Thursday at 2 p.m. in Wells Conference Center, room 1. I think we have 8 speakers right now, so come check it out and support your fellow students. We'd really love to have some UMSG members there in the audience. They're not going to have food at the event though, so I can't use that as an incentive. There's a bunch of accepted students days that we're going to be tabling at over the next month. Thank you, DOT Mills, Jesus, sorry, for coordinating that and getting us signed up for that. So they're Saturday mornings at 8:30 in the CCA, 8:30 to 10, they're not that long. Would love some senators to help out with these. Let me know if you're interested. It's a great opportunity if you are applying for the VPSL position. Just a reminder that the UMSG Leadership Retreat will be held on Friday, April 5th at 3 p.m. in the Wade Center. And next week, you'll see the funding request for the escape rooms for the, I think, 20 of us that signed up for that. Our swell event we had planned for next week is being pushed back to the week before finals and is going to be combined with the final survival kits that we were going to be doing back then. So we're going to be doing like the paint a pill bottle event with the creating final survival kits. Let me know if anyone wants to be involved with planning or like advertising that at all. And as VP Tripp mentioned, this Friday, VP Tripp, Senator Ricker and I will be meeting to start creating the syllabus bank. Let me know if you'd like to be at that meeting. We have not picked a time yet. And yes, I said the same thing at my report before spring break, but we are actually meeting this Friday. And this will be a meeting where we're really just workshopping what this will look like and kind of thinking about what other like steps we need to realistically take throughout the next 6 weeks to get this done, or if we need to push some of that to next year. So let me know if you guys want to be included in that before we pick a time. And also, we're not going to be having SLC tomorrow. We just don't have enough to go over in that big group. But if anyone wants to get involved in any of the initiatives, just let me know and we can meet on probably Friday this week. End of report.
Moving on to Advisor to Student Government. All right. Do we have any questions for the speaker? Vice President Allen?
I forgot to give my usual report because there wasn't any folks that came to ABC last night, not for any budget. So starting in unallocated, we have $89,766.72, and then 2 returns to be unallocated, one from the Black Student Union in the amount of $3.34, and one from TASA in the amount of $66.78, and those are both from their character event.
All right, any further questions?
Vice President Chaplin, the UMSG Leadership Retreat is on April 5th. So is our Joe Gatto concert, and we will be able to attend both, correct?
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, that's so.
Yeah, the Joe Gatto concert as far as I know starts at 8 p.m.
Correct.
Yep, we should finish up the escape room by 7 p.m. at the latest, unless you're stuck.
Any further, Senator Harvey?
For the Joe Gatto concert, is it a concert or a comedy show?
It's a comedy show. He's a comedian. It's a comedy.
Yeah.
So.
My bad, okay.
Any further questions for the speakers? Advisor Sedalka.
So just as a follow-up on the concert and the team builder on the same day or the escape room thing, do you need assistance with the comedy show ahead of time? And if so, will that include senators that need to think about that in advance? Because there's also a meet and greet, correct, that needs to be considered.
For volunteership, I don't believe so. I think all of it is taken control under the company that we're contracting him through. As far as a meet and greet goes, I don't know how that will look because his security clearance is pretty tight. So I
It's in
don't.
the contract that you have to meet and greet, yeah.
Did not know that.
Miles has been handling one.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to put it out there for timing purposes, for general awareness.
All right, and then I have one for Vice President Chaplin, I guess a point of privilege. I'm shipping it down to Boston at 8 a.m. on Friday, so I probably won't be at the Syllabus Tech meeting, my bad.
Cool.
So disregard that part. Any further questions for the speakers? Seeing none, we'll now move on to periodic reports, starting with the Faculty Senate Student Representative.
Good evening, everyone. So I did go to the Faculty Senate meeting, which was the week before break, but because of break and because I was very sick and because I totally forgot to write up my report, I will be presenting it next week.
Moving on to the University of Maine Board of Trustees Student Rep.
Hello, there was an FFT meeting 2 weeks ago that I took notes on, but then just break. So some highlights from that were the Gordian annual benchmarking and facilities analysis that they do annually. That was presented, and the most interesting things for me were that the number of online programs in the system are doubling by 2028. And then things that we kind of already knew, but that were solidified was that over 50% of our buildings are over 50 years old and 79% of residence halls are over 50 years old. And then facilities spending currently is at 70% of the target spending. And then the agenda items that are being sent to the April 8th board meeting to be approved there are money towards the Advanced Manufacturing Center and Maine College of Engineering and Computing renovations, the Advanced Structures and Composites renovation, green engineering and materials, like factory, electrical infrastructure upgrades, the Orono soccer complex, track and field complex, and new parking lot by athletics, and then the HVAC upgrades that we talked about before. I also put together a document that's on the DOT drive that has links to all of the meetings and all of the agendas and materials, and also information about who can attend those, and if you can't attend it, how you can view it. It also has all of the undergrad reps' contact information and all of the names of the board members and people who are at the board meetings. I don't have their contact information, so that's not on there, but their names are in their titles. And then there's kind of a helpful graphic that organizes all of those people based on where they are on like the system level versus campus level, and who, it's just clear who they report to. So I thought that was interesting and helpful. There's another FFT meeting tomorrow. It's very, very long and I can't attend it because I have classes, but I will watch it later and then upload my notes by the end of the week. And then on April 8th, there's a board meeting in Augusta. And if anyone wants me to bring anything forward, you can come to my office hours, but also there's public comment. So you can say things yourselves. End of report.
Moving on to the Chair of the Fair Election Practices Commission.
The election results were published. They are now in the Google chat. If you'd like more specific data, perhaps a day-by-day breakdown of voting, just email me and I'll send it to you as fast as possible. And then also I'm thinking about starting a resolution, Memphis will be talking to you more about this to move the election perhaps a week earlier so that it can all be notarized before break. It's not like all hectic. Planning the inauguration, I'm probably gonna reach out to the Senate chat with a poll for food, because I have a lot of money for food. Because there were only 3 candidates, so I didn't have to reimburse a lot of people. I'm helping cans with an election soon, sure they'll be mentioning stuff about that. And then I submitted my budget to EBC. That's pretty much it. End of report.
Moving on to the student legal representative.
I have student legal services February usage report, as well as a more detailed plan log. I'm gonna be passing those around. This one, that looks like this is public. This one that is clearly labeled confidential is confidential. So please make sure that the confidential one gets back to me. Also, if you want to see them later, you can just email me in the report.
Moving on to representative to the Graduate Student Senate.
Hi, longer report tonight, guys, sorry. So Harrison, who's the representative for youth, the UMSG from the general, or the Graduate Student Senate, we will not be meeting this week because he's in a workshop for most of the week and we're busy people. But I wanted to share with you all about the event that the University of Maine Graduate Workers Union is holding. And clearly we share that on March 26th so that undergraduate students can show up in solidarity with the graduate student population. This event would coincide with the first in-person meeting between the UMaine system and the union, and RSVP is required, and I will share more info in the Senate chat after my report. To incentivize participation and in the spirit of full transparency, I have some updates from the bargaining that Harrison shared with me. As of the last 5-hour bargaining session during spring break, the UMaine system team has rejected union proposals for non-discrimination, harassment, and bullying protections for graduate workers. They rejected protections for trans and pregnant graduate workers and deleted language that would protect graduate workers from harassment after filing a grievance. The head UMaine system negotiator has refused to engage with the union's international graduate workers' rights proposal outright. March 26th to 28th, there will be 3 back-to-back in-person bargaining sessions. I will be in attendance, and again, I'll share the details in the chat. End of report.
Orono Town Council Liaison.
No report.
Old Town City Council Liaison.
Okay, before the city council meeting officially began, a citizens climate lobbying representative who briefly spoke at the previous meeting made a full in-depth presentation about their organization and the effects of climate change. The Citizens Climate Lobby wants the city to pass a resolution to send to the state legislature stating that the city would be unopposed to a carbon fee and cashback program. After the presentation, the rest of the meeting was mainly focused to rezoning like small lots in the area. End of report.
Moving on to the representative of Military and Veteran Student Affairs.
Hello, I'm finishing up things for the Beat and Set plan with the Veterans Lounge. And I was approached by a member of the MPA about the volleyball tournament that is happening, I think on the 26th, and they asked if we could have a Senate team. And so if you're interested in dodgeball, let me know. I'm open to that.
Moving on to the Director of Communications.
Hi, everyone. This week I have been and will continue to be putting together a variety of flyers and continuing to advertise for upcoming events such as the job application deadlines, the Joe Gatto comedy show, the speaker showcase, and video game tournament this weekend, or this Friday.
Perfect. Moving on to the Director of Technology.
Alrighty, howdy y'all. Other than working with the EP over on their student organization page this week, there's nothing too crazy exciting to report. So instead, I will be reading off some fun analytics or funalytics. I'm so sorry. You're gonna suffer with that for a second. Anyways, here we go. Since November of 2022, which is as far back as I have data for some reason. Anyways, we have only had a handful of days where our website managed to hit more than 750 views in a single day. But 2 weeks ago, on March 4th, we broke that again, getting 789 views and 114 new users in that single day, becoming our 4th most viewed day since my records began, I guess. And considering that was the first day of election week, I think that says a lot about how we did with advertising. That's triple what our average daily views were for the month of March 2023, and a 58% increase compared to that same month's all-time high, which was like around 500 or so. Yes, let's see. So congrats to everyone that helped like promote the election, and especially at BPC Olson for all his hard work. Like I swear this man was literally on speed dial. I messaged him something, even at like odd time of the day, being like, hey, I think 4 p.m. on a Friday. I'm like, can I get a new link for my voting? That man got back to me within like minutes. And I'm like, okay. So props to him. The election page also became our 19th most popular page with a total of 596 views. Let's see. Oh, I've also been in communication with UMaine's marketing and communications division, which is where I got access to this data. And I'll be requesting the raw data itself so I can do some more detailed funalytics. Yep, I'm sorry. And I'll also be meeting with one of their team members to get more advanced training on some WordPress plugins that I think will help me in my goal to create like specific committee pages. They'll be similar to organization pages, but better. So yeah, if anyone, especially committee members and chairs, have ideas as to what features or information you'd like to have there, or think should be there, like please let me know. You can have an email me or talk to me in person. And a report.
Moving on to the University of Maine security rep.
Alright, so today, I had a meeting with a new Maine police officer as well as President Flores. And we basically just talked for a little bit about how UMPD's report on campus could be improved. We came up with some really exciting ideas for that, so you guys are gonna see some more involvement activities soon, some more communication from the police department. We also discussed how UMPD could improve their campus involvement, as well as trying to uplift the mental health of a lot of the students on this campus, because the officer that we talked to while he was engaged in the station, he spent many years as a school resource officer. So he really wants to make sure that he's putting community engagement and student mental health first. And yeah, we just discussed student events and overall goals for the relationship between UMPD and the student body. And the report.
Moving on to the Center for the Undergraduate Research Liaison. A report. All right. Do we have any questions for the speakers? Chairman Olson.
Question for Senator Warren. Did they hire a new police officer or did someone leave and someone else join?
I'm not sure.
He's been here for about a year and a half, but he and I serve on the mental health task force together. And we had like some overlapping ideas in a recent meeting, and he like kind of messaged me and said like, I'd like to meet. I looped in Senator Warren as their security representative, and I think she's gonna be taking a lot of it from here, but he's been here for a while and specializes in community policing and like is really interested in like getting out into the community and like meeting students and kind of it's just like really passionate about like improving the police department's reputation on campus and seems positive.
Thanks. Thanks, Senator Ricker.
Question for collective communication skill. I know you've already uploaded a post on it, but I was wondering if there's any chance you could upload tomorrow or on Thursday morning another thing about the student speaker showcase. Just to like, yeah.
Right. Any further questions for the Senator Mishi?
I have a question for Representative Britton. So when you said the online classes are gonna be double, does that mean like classes that are in person are getting an online option, or would some classes become online only? Like, is there gonna be a loss in in-person classes if there's an increase with online?
I can go back and check, but also that was a system-wide number, and a lot of campuses that are getting smaller
are transferring a lot of the programs online. And so that was not an Orono specific number, but I can look back in the report.
Any further questions? Senator Ricker.
Question, Dr. Technology knows, this is pure curiosity, but for the election, if they click on the link, that does not have a link to the site itself, right? Since that's an individual poll separately.
I'm sorry, I missed the first part, one more time.
For the election, when they click on the link that takes to the poll, that does not count as a click towards the website of the election, right?
No.
Like, separate kind. Thanks.
Yeah, separate. I think, if I understand the question, yes.
Any further question? Seeing none, we will now move on to reports of standing committees, starting with marketing and public relations. Membership.
If all goes well, it will not be pizza next week, I swear. And we will have food for the annual budget meeting and report.
Policy and procedure.
Hey everyone, it's great to see you all again. The Polycorp will be meeting this Friday at 1 p.m. to begin discussing this semester's executive evaluations, which are going to be on April 9th. They will follow a similar distribution system to last semester's, but I would like Polycorp to meet to iron out the process any further and to consider the new context of us being in the spring semester, most of the execs departing after this semester, stuff like that. So we're going to be workshopping a lot of the questions. All are welcome to attend to give their 2 cents or just get in touch with me if you'd like to do so. What's the other thing? Yeah, I'll meet with FEPC Chair Olson to discuss his FEPC guidelines resolution, which maybe we can even do that this Friday, but if there's any business that people would like to introduce to policy and procedure, just get in touch with me with any questions, comments, concerns, or activities.
Moving on to political activism.
No report.
Services.
Hi, I am working on reaching out to Concord Coach Lines to discuss the possibility of discounted bus tickets for the undergrad students. This has been inspired by the success of last semester's bus ticket coupon campaign. In 30 minutes, all the coupons we acquired, requested, and reserved. So there's clearly a need for this. This process is still in the early preliminary stages, so nothing's final. So if this piques your interest, I implore you to come to the services meeting this Thursday at 1 in the Wade Center to give input on it, get involved with it. Also on that note, the location for service committees will now be held in the Wade Center from now on instead of the Mayor Center. The report. Excellent.
Any questions for the speakers? Vice President Over.
Oh, Lord. Question directed at Senator Nishu. Are you looking at expanding the bus ticket program because it was such a success last time?
Well, essentially, we tried reaching out to Concord initially when we first did this last semester, and they're like, student organization, we're just gonna brush you off. So I had to go into contact with someone in transportation to actually take it more seriously. I don't know what's gonna come of this. Like I said, I just want to talk to them to see what they're willing to do. And that would be probably coming next week. So if anyone wants to give their opinion or ideas I should bring up on services.
Right. Any other questions for the speakers? Seeing none, we'll move on to reports of special committees, starting with the Academic Affairs Special Committee.
Hello. The Student Success Task Force is still ongoing. Next meeting is tomorrow and it was supposed to be the last meeting. Don't think that's gonna be the case. But I think we're bringing good feedback. I'm there with BP Trip and we're bringing a really good student perspective that is very much missing without our engagement. I'm meeting with the associate provost tomorrow as well. I'm bringing some new concerns since the last meeting. One of them was that the paperwork to change major and minors in programs at this university has to get a lot of signatures and it is not very accessible to do virtually. So like, especially from the perspective of someone being an online student, it'd be really hard to get your major and minor changed in a reasonable time frame. If you have a concern for me to bring to the associate provost, please let me know. I love concerns. I've been doing research on the rollout of the equitable access programs at the Connecticut State Colleges and Universities. They just signed their own equitable access contract. So that applies to 4 state universities that are very similar to benchmark to ours. And I think that research and looking at that is going to bring us some new questions, whether people with 6 credits and people with 20 credits pay the exact same for the program. End of report.
Moving on to the Student Mental Health Committee. Does anybody have that report? It's going twice. Moving on to the Undergraduate Student Symposium Committee.
Everyone, the symposium is the 12th of April, so it's coming up fast. I'm going to send out a link for volunteering. Volunteers for the event through UMSG will mostly stick at the UMSG table. The symposium side at Cougar just asked that we do give our name in through their link, so they can get us a T-shirt for the event volunteer and report.
Perfect. Food and Dining Affairs Committee.
Okay, hi everyone, in the email chain with the Nexo head, President Delors, the trip, Senator Shelby and I received information to communicate out to the student body. The main ones include March 20th, 4 p.m. There's gonna be a game show at Hilltop with $90 as a prize. March 21st, 1 p.m. They're gonna try to do like a town hall-esque thing at Hilltop. They really want us to communicate this one out because the meet the team thing they did at Hilltop in York, albeit small and successful. March 28th for dinner, at both York and Hilltop will be serving her. And we have an Impossible Burger as an everyday option in the grill area now at both York and Hilltop. They're also introducing more paid positions next year for students. So they have student marketing interns who work with their marketing manager, and this is a paid position. Student influencers who quote on their hype team. Also a paid position, and then they're gonna have student ambassadors, which is basically Sedexo's own NBA committee. So examples of groups that we're gonna represent are RAs, athletes, commuters, vegans, vegetarians, and other special dietary needs. End of report.
Are there any questions for the speakers? Vice President Chapel?
I have a question for Chairman Bang. Can you forward me that so I included those key things in the newsletter? Thanks.
President Delors?
I'm actually gonna be working with Keegan pretty soon on putting out like some sort of like press release or specific. What?
I just went like this and then.
President Trip also, aka Elliot's, we're working on some sort of like press release or some sort of like specific dining announcement to let students know about what we've been doing on dining, because we've spent a lot of time this semester focusing on dining. So if you want to put it in the newsletter, great. But we're also going to be putting out like a more comprehensive announcement specifically about like dining policy and dining issues. Just FYI.
Any further questions for the speakers? Senator Wise.
I have something I forgot for my report. There will be no committee meeting Friday, and also the Main Street tutorial event for Friday will also not be happening because we're gonna make some UMaine sports history that day, and I think that there's more important things happening at that time.
All right, any further questions, comments, or anything else? Going once, going twice, perfect. Moving on to the representative board report, starting with commuter and non-traditional.
Hey guys, good to be here again. One of the concerns brought forward by commuter students as well as non-traditional students was these sidewalks. They were very concerned about that, and thankfully, thanks to the main campus, it was brought up during the State of the University. It was mentioned that while we can only fix them at select times, we do plan on fixing them. So while it is a little bit disappointing that, hey, we can't fix them now, at least the university is tracking it. We've been talking about it for a little bit, but the Bay Board liaison position is officially in our constitution now. I'm in the works with talking to FEPC about the details for our elections. But if you are interested, please do let me know. All we really want is someone who's willing to advocate for commuters and non-traditional students. The couches were a big concern for commuters, non-traditional students. And thankfully, Vice President Tripp helped remedy the situation. So thank you very much.
End of report. Moving on to the Honors College Student Activities Board.
Hi, hello everyone. I'm gonna try to make this brief once again, but there's a lot of main annual packet stuff, so I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to deal with that for the next couple weeks. The week before spring break, Senator Warren, myself, and Ruth Griffith, the Secretary of SAD, went with Dr. Melissa Ladenheim to the Old Town Rotary Club, where we got a very nice generous donation. And we were able to speak on the Maine annual pack out and our experiences with food insecurity. It was a really great experience. One of the donations was immediately by members. It was a cash donation of, I believe, over $170. And then there was a separate donation from the Rotary Club itself that was, I believe, over $250, if I remember correctly. I don't. So, and I haven't checked the email since the beginning of break because I unplugged. Our raffle, once again, huge success. We finally counted all of that. That is all set up and being sent through. The next big thing for the Maine annual pack out is meeting with students from Honors 211, which is the second semester freshmen, on April 9th during their lecture to talk about the Maine annual pack out. And we are also looking for team leaders. So if you or anybody is interested, you can get into contact with me or our volunteer chair, Ashley Reagan, and I can put that in the Senate chat later. As for other things, SAB is holding an event tomorrow from 3 to 5 with Swell to promote wellness and self-care with spring activities like rock painting. And along with that, I plan on meeting with Dr. Brophy to talk about further efforts to form connections in the Honors College. And we will also be beginning to plan our final support session, which is one of our biggest events each semester. And that is going to happen the Sunday of the last week of classes or the Sunday of finals week, which is April 29th. And I know that for a fact because we do that every year. That is the end of my report though.
Moving on to Interfraternity Council.
Hi, everyone. So today we had our weekly meeting with the FSL staff. It was mostly centered around the introduction of the fraternity recruitment initiative, which we're still in the process of trying to figure out what that entails exactly. This week at IC, the FSL staff is going to be presenting their recruitment initiative to all the presidents and representatives and all the execs that are involved in the process currently. And aside from that, some of the fraternities have some big philanthropy events coming up, which I'll let you know more about next week. And report.
The Penn Hellenic Council.
So Jacob and I have been working with our programming chairs to finish the logistics of Greek Week so that we can make it successful. And then to be transparent, the finance chair of Penn Hell has to resign her position at the end of the semester due to becoming president of her chapter, which means that we will be holding interviews for another short member to fulfill her position. And a report.
Moving on to the Senior Class Council, I have that report. Representative Pullen says that she's sorry that she can't be here. Our report is that we're looking for current juniors interested in starting next year's class council and being a rep on UMSG. Anyone interested can talk to her. The Senior Class Council has a fundraiser on Thursday, April 11th from 4 to 9 p.m. at Oriental Jade in Bangor. And there are currently 46 days until graduation. So that's exciting. All right. We'll now move on to the Student Athletic Advisory Council.
Hold on, we got a couple of big dubs. Like we won women's basketball, won American. Of course, we got ice hockey. Like, come on, man. They're going to Hockey East. That's something to be proud of. That's something to be excited about. So yeah, those are some big things that we have coming. Other than that, nothing else to report.
Any questions for the speakers? Senator Thompson.
Question directly to the friend. What was the issue with the couches? So the commuters came forward saying that the couches weren't cleaned, they didn't feel comfortable being in these couches. When it was brought forward to my attention, I thought about doing a financial request, but I wanted to work with the executive team before I went forward with that. Thankfully, the issue was addressed, and Kansas will be happy with those results.
All right. Any further questions? No advice. We'll now move on to the Community Association report, starting with the Student Heritage Alliance Council. I also have that report. Give me a second. Great. Hello, everybody. This is John. Sorry that I couldn't be at tonight's meeting. If I am, it will most likely be after this report is given. Sorry, that just confused me. I now have a class scheduled commitment that overlaps with Tuesday's Senate meeting time. Effective immediately during tomorrow's SHAC meeting, I will attempt to find a proxy or proxies to attend the rest of the meetings for the remainder of the 5-ish weeks of the semester. I will, however, be present for the annual budget meeting, or at least try to be. The SHAC report is minimal this week as we mainly discuss final adjustments to the annual budget. SHAC and its organizational members were contacted by the DEI chair of the sophomore. It says owls, but I'm assuming eagles. Kylie Michelle LaPlante, all right, to participate in their planned Spring Fest in April. For club reports, there's only one for CALSA that says Carnival is happening on this Saturday, March 23rd in the North Pod. John will send out a sign-up sheet in the Senate space after this meeting if anybody is interested in helping with food preparation the day before on Friday, and individual shift assignments on Saturday. And that is the end of his report. We'll now move on to the Feminist Collective. Does anybody have that report? Seeing none, we'll now move on to Wildstein.
Hi, we're sort of in the final planning stages of the drag show, again, March 30th, 7 p.m. at the CCA. Tickets are free with your Maine card. We're also working on Lavender Prom, that's gonna be April 13th, 7 p.m. And we're voting at this week's meeting, we're narrowing down a list to vote on for the theme, which is exciting. And we're also working on planning Lavender graduation, though we don't have a date specifically for that yet. And lastly, I just wanted to say next week is Pride Week on campus. There are gonna be a lot of cool events, especially ODI is running a lot of them. I tried to find an online version of the schedule somewhere with all the events, because I could only find one in the ODI newsletter. I could not find them posted publicly, so if anyone would like me to, I can post a copy of that in the Senate space. And
Moving on to the International Student Association.
Okay, good morning. Okay, you know what? Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good night. It's some time in the morning on this planet. Anyways, I'm so sorry. Couple of announcements for ISA. We're gonna be holding our annual grad dinner on the 11th of April from 6 to 8 to celebrate international students who are graduating from either the 4-year program here or just from one semester. Coffee Hour is going to be holding its collaboration with the College Student Association, but the date has shifted. So it's either gonna be the 29th of March or the 5th of April. It's probably due to the fact that a lot of NSA students are grad students and there's a lot of projects that are coming up, so it makes sense. As mentioned with Shaq, ISA is also hoping is gonna be partnering with the Sophomore Eagles for Spring Fest. That will be occurring towards the end of the semester and it'll be with other developer groups. As a final note, ISA is also going to be holding your elections in the next couple of weeks. And as a little add-on, I'm just as a little notes, excuse me, theme that I've seen on campus, I'm announcing sort of like a collaboration with the Academic Affairs Committee concerning international students and their transfer credits. I've seen, at least in terms of like personal experiences and also hearing from other students around on campus who are international, a lot of their classes are not being accepted, like scarily amounts not being accepted. So I am hoping to get something done with the Academic Affairs Committee. If nothing gets done at least this semester, they're going to hear me a lot. End of reports.
All right, are there any questions for our speakers? Good once. Going twice. If it's the pleasure of the Senate, we will now enter our 5-minute recess, come back at 7:30. All right, seeing no consent agenda, seeing no unfinished business, seeing no.
Oh, I need to make a motion.
Senator Waters.
I make a motion, how do I phrase this?
I move to suspend the rules.
I move to suspend the rules and hold elections for the entertainment. Student Entertainment Committee position tonight.
Second one, correct. All right.
Okay.
Hearing a second, that's adopted. We will now move into a period for discussion on the motion. Debate? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed?
Point of information. I don't think we have, two senators here at the moment.
They're in the majority. That is not my problem. All of those abstaining. Seeing a clear majority in the affirmative, that's adopted. We'll now move into nominations and elections for the position on the Student Entertainment Committee. Yes.
Point of privilege, I think that we wrote it so that people that are not elected can still serve on the committee even if they're not elected tonight.
Correct. Senator Ricker.
Point of information, may I nominate? May I nominate someone?
Why wouldn't you be able to? But just before we do, I'm gonna give a quick rundown for anybody who might have not been here when we did this. Actually, can someone raise their hand if they've never been through a nomination or election for committee chairs? You have, perfect, then we'll go through it. So essentially how this is gonna work is I'm going to call for nominations. Any member of the assembly can nominate anybody for this position. However, I believe this position is limited to senators, correct? No, senators and reps. All right, so that a rep or a senator can hold this position. You would just raise your hand, say I nominate blank. That person would then have the option to either accept that nomination or respectfully decline after the nomination gets a second. Are there any questions about that?
No.
Yes, Senator Brown.
Do you think you could share with us the duties of the entertainment committee?
I will leave that to our AVPSE.
That's a great question. So the idea of an elected member to the Student Entertainment Committee being from a senator or representative is somebody from this population of people to hold us accountable in a way. So it's at the discretion of the VPSC, that's how it's worded, but you will essentially have some power in choosing, say like food trucks and other stuff like that, like your vote will be considered as a representative of the general student senate on SEC.
Senator Governor.
Point of privilege, you can nominate yourself.
Correct. Any further questions about the nomination process specifically? About the nomination process?
No, it's not about the nomination process.
Okay. Any further questions in general? Senator Harvey.
Do you know if this is a 1 or 2 point position to hold?
It is a 1
point. Yes. So remember your Senate requirements. You should be fulfilling them by now, and I am going to be following up with that very shortly. So this is a great opportunity to fill them in if you're not. Senator Jernigan.
When does the committee meet? 11 a.m. Fridays.
Perfect. All right. We will now open nominations for the position. Senator Ricker.
I nominate Senator Brown.
Second.
I'm not too, I don't know too much about the position.
Not then, I think.
So.
Acceptable decline. Senator Ricker.
I nominate Representative Brown.
Second. I don't have enough information on this position quite yet to know whether or not I can do it. Could I get more information on this, like the requirements?
Yeah, you just only have to come to the meetings, Fridays 11 to 12 and that's about it, or like outside of Senate requirements.
Understood. I forced a meeting hands that time, so I've respected the
Right. Senator Martel.
I nominate Senator Bassett. Thank you. I would totally want to accept this, but I have a class at 11, unfortunately, to respect the decline case.
Senator Stewart.
I nominate myself, so I am available during that time. Fridays are pretty free for me. I need to fill a Senate requirement. I've been filling one, but it's like, there's been committee meetings, they haven't been meeting when they say they're gonna be meeting. So that makes it hard for me to fill Senate requirements when they don't meet.
So
here is that you accept.
yes, I
Strong acceptance. Senator Thompson.
I nominate Senator Warren.
second,
I accept.
Vice President Ober.
I nominate Senator Stankovitz.
second.
I accept.
Any further nominations for the position of one sitting on the FCC, I guess? Vice President Ober.
I nominate Senator Rocky.
Second.
Worth.
Any further nominations? Seeing none, I realize that President Flores was not sitting next to me nor writing them down. So could you just raise your hand if you were nominated and accepted? All right. This is a great first meeting back. And then we got, all right. Perfect. So now that we are, sorry, Warren, we already got the three, right? 1, 2, 3?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so now we'll be entering a session for the elections. Essentially, you're going to at some point write down one of the names on a piece of paper. However, each candidate is going to have a second to give a little spiel about why they should be elected to the position. I will start with Senator Warren.
Awesome. So I would also be honored to serve on the Student Entertainment Committee. I am currently the culture editor for the Maine campus, which is really focused on student entertainment and things that are going on within the community. So I feel like I have a pretty good knowledge of what we'd all like to see. Secondly, it's something that I'm frankly just passionate about. I think everyone should be able to enjoy their time here and you just really get to have all of the this has to offer, and it would not me to be able to work with this committee and help make decisions.
All right, we'll move on to Senator Stewart.
Yes, well, I feel that I would be very qualified for this position because I have experience in student entertainment, mainly from where I went to high school. We were very big on student entertainment, mainly in plays, shows, like talent shows, a lot of stuff like that. So I have a lot of experience with seeing what that looks like when one goes into it. And I feel like I would be able to give my all, my time and my heart of support towards this position.
And last but not least, Senator Stankovitz.
So as you have probably noticed, I'm very new to the Senate. And I really want to start getting involved, and I think this would be a great place to start and give some input on things I have noticed as a student who is just starting out on Senate. And I think I also share a different kind of opinion as a very introverted person who is hard to get out of the house. I think I would really enjoy to have some input and help students find some entertainment on campus, find some resources. Such.
Awesome. All right, so please put down either Senator Warren, Senator Stewart, or Senator Stankovitz for this position.
Yeah, we gotta.
I know it's, oh, well, something.
And you're voting like this.
Yeah, senators, raise your hand.
Yes.
Yeah, whenever I do it, I need to know.
Right now.
Yeah.
Vice President Chapman.
I just want to also say a point of privilege for everyone who just gave a speech that you can still join the committee if you're not elected to this position, and it's still open, so you guys definitely should get involved on Friday.
Remember.
You can also vote for yourself.
Yes.
Anything
along with meeting ones.
Okay, once you have voted, put your hand back in the air and I will collect said vote. Only back around.
That's like your whole job. your literal job, like we hired you for. But yeah, I'll do it.
Sorry, I enjoyed it. That's what we had. Where? You just.
My own email series, but I tell her to go, okay, this is called true.
I figured, I thought that you can get. So you, are you taking about it?
Drum roll, please. Congratulations, Senator Statements. We will now be moving on to our main motion of the night. Yeah, do we have a speaker at this time? All right.
Hello, everyone, and good evening. The purpose for this main motion, why you didn't see this, that is through ETC. This is a financial request, as I mentioned in my report, to send 2 coach buses down to Boston on Friday night for the semifinal game against Boston University. As Representative Tanaka so elegantly put it, we're very excited about this game. And I think that student government has a great opportunity here to really support like the student body in their travel and kind of just like promote school pride in what is a really great athletic program. And just like a really bright spot in what has been an otherwise very dark winter as a UMaine student. And with this being like so close by in Boston, I think that like we can do this. Unlike, I didn't mean to sound depressed. I just mean like it has been dark and cold, we live in a central week. But unlike the women's basketball games or game happening this weekend, which is in Ohio, right? Like it's not in Boston. I don't think we can afford coach buses to Ohio, but we can afford coach buses to Boston, in my opinion. So here are the logistics. So I have contacted 4 different coach bus companies and tried to get quotes from all of them. Only one of them has the availability on such short notice. Why is there short notice, you might ask? Well, we just got back from spring break and just kind of found out about the happenings of this game this Friday. So today was kind of today and yesterday were kind of the first day that I could feel different quotes. Given that this is so last minute, only one company has availability. So the main motion tonight appropriates $10,000 for 2 coach buses, which is 112 students to go down to Boston this Friday. That breaks down to roughly a little less than $100 per ticket, which I feel like is fair for a bus fare to and from Orono all the way down to Boston. Other important logistics. This afternoon, I met with Colleen Frazier in CSI to create an interest form to field interest so that I could come to you tonight with some facts and figures on how many students we actually have interested. As of now, this form is published, I think at like 4:23 this afternoon. And since then, we already have 50 people registered. That's 5 less than 1 full coach bus. So we also haven't done really any publicity. I know that Director Carroll posted it on our Instagram story after my text and very late notice, but we really haven't had time to get the word out about this at all. I think that with more publicity and meetings with potentially Lori, Colleen again, a contact that I have in athletics and some other folks around campus, that we could really get the word out to students about this. and really fill these buses. But this is the main motion request, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Excellent. Do we have any questions for the speaker? Senator Ricker.
I know some of student involvement is doing something similar on Saturday, and in conclusion to that is like a risk and release forms and that sort of like logistical backing. Is that something that we need to do here in the capacity, or how's that sort of?
Yeah, I've been talking with Sean about the logistics of like, liability, and he already has a plan to make sure that students are signing a travel agreement, either electronically or in paper form that we have in our records. So that will be taken care of. So the event that you're speaking to about CSI, they have been sponsoring a Boston trip that's been planned for at least like 3 months. And that, like you said, is for Saturday night. And Maine hockey would have to win a Friday night game in order to play on Saturday. And when they planned that trip to Boston months ago, they didn't plan it because of the hockey game. They planned it just kind of for a fun Boston trip, and it happens to be on a Saturday night game where Maine could be playing if they went on Friday. So we wouldn't be competing with that because our trip would be on Friday and not Saturday.
Vice President Goldberg.
So if we do, win on Friday, which I know we will, will the buses be available to take students back who are wish to stay Saturday, or they must go, Friday evening?
That's a question I'd have to talk with Sean about. This request would definitely not have enough money to be able to send another bus down on Saturday. If you wanted to change this around and basically say, Michael, I'd rather have you spend $5,000 on Saturday for one bus and potentially spend another $5,000 on Saturday for another bus if they went on Friday night, I might be able to work out the logistics with the bus company, but for now, there's no transportation plan for Saturday if they went on Friday.
Okay, Vice President Allen.
What is the explicit like language of the main motion, just so that everyone knows?
I think the explicit language is gonna be to provide $10,150 to transportation for Northeast Coach Line, I believe is their name, to the Hockey East Championship.
Okay.
Senator Bone.
This is a point of information for BPFA Allen. How much did CBC usually spend for transportation per student?
We have never really done like buses, coach buses. Our club sports are really the only people that require like frequent transportation. And they typically rent like essentially minivans from Enterprise and drive those themselves. We don't have a history of purchasing coach buses for student organizations.
Vice President Goldberg.
I do have a follow-up, which is, so if they went on Friday, more so my question is, then they have to come back to Orono Friday night and then potentially have the option to go with CSI Saturday down? No.
Well, the only students that could go down on the CSI trip on Saturday are students that already registered, and I know for a fact that there's a wait list for that trip. So, and again, that trip was not set up for the hockey game, it was set up for a Boston trip. So if a student wanted to go down on Friday night, if Maine wins the game, they can be like, I'm just gonna book a last minute hotel in Boston, not get on the bus back to Bangor. And we're not gonna say, like, that they have to get back on the bus. In the release, there would be some sort of like language about that, basically saying, we're gonna provide you with transportation down there and back, but if you don't get on the bus, like, we're not liable for it. So if they wanna stay down there and figure out their own accommodations and travel back, if Maine wins on Friday, I think it would be up to the student.
Senator Waters.
I think this kind of answers Senator Bone's question. Two things, when I was on the cheer team and we did a coach bus to Boston to fly out of the airport, that is very actually, especially, I'm kind of surprised at how good that price is considering how late notice it is, because that's very comparable to what the cheer team would pay for a coach bus to go to Boston. So then we could fly out, and we were from Orono to Boston. But if you were taking like a coach bus, which I take to Boston about 4 or 5 times per year, it's about $50. So it is a little bit expensive compared to if you were just riding like a Concord coach bus. if that answers the question. Also, how is the form set up to shut off once we hit the maximum amount of students so that students don't register and then there isn't space?
No, the way the form is set up, or Colleen set it up like this, in our impromptu meeting today, that there's a wait list. So if we go over 110, there's an ordered wait list. So if you were the 113th person to sign up, it would be like in order. Also to add on to that, to shed a little more light on the figure, the bus company that we would be using here, rather than Sear Bus Lines, which I called first, which is like based out of the Bangalore area, this line that we'd be going with is based out of Lewiston. So part of that $10,000 figure is factoring in that both drivers of both buses would have to drive from Lewiston to pick us up. And then after they drop us back off at like 3 in the morning, they have to drive back to Lewiston. So those are called deadhead miles, and that's what we're paying for. That's part of the reason why it's more expensive to go with this company than it is with Sear Bus.
Any other questions? Vice President Allen?
Will, hypothetically, if the main motion is approved, will members of student government be able to register for tickets, or is that like a conflict of interest by the author of the main motion?
I don't see why student government employees or senators or volunteers wouldn't be able to go. I mean, I haven't talked about that with Sean, but Lori might have an answer to that, but I don't see why not.
Yeah, you wouldn't benefit any more than or less than any other student, so I can't imagine that it would be a conflict of interest at all. I just wanted, could you please address the tickets to the game, please?
Yes, so, the interest form that was sent out that I told you about earlier simply gauges student interest for transportation. The form doesn't purchase any sort of tickets to the game for any Union student. So yesterday around noon, there was a form that was sent out by athletics to unfortunately only certain students on campus that had a link to Ticketmaster where you could purchase a $15 student ticket to the game. To the best of my knowledge and research today, all of those $15 student discount tickets for UMaine to sections 330 and 329 in TD Garden are all sold. However, there are still tickets available, general admission to TD Garden for the game, but they're a little more expensive. They're around $100. So we would only be providing transportation to students who would be interested in still purchasing a ticket, of which there are some available, or students who have their funds liquid. Whether that be a general admission ticket they purchased a month ago, or a $15 student ticket with the main section, which they purchased yesterday. So again, only providing transportation for students who have a ticket or don't have a ticket, and are buying their funds. So, yeah.
Vice President Chat, is that interest form that you mentioned just like people expressing their interest, and then there's gonna be a second form that we send out this week, or is that the one that we're just gonna then go and advertise a bunch tomorrow?
I need to work out the logistics with Colleen a little bit more. That form that has been filled out could be edited to continue kind of like to be editing the transition from an interest form to a sign up form, or we could create a new sign up form. The only reason I did that was because I wanted to come to Senate tonight with this main motion, just to kind of get some data and facts and figures on the interest. So, I mean, I think that the 50 people who've already registered in the last like 4 hours, like the advantage of like if we actually do a media push, like how many students we could actually get on this trip.
But the follow-up, so like the list would start again, like, so do those 50 people have a reserved spot right now? If we pass this, goes through whatever, are those 50 who already did it?
I think so. I think that's how it should go. It's first come, first served. If we transition into a new form, or if we edited that form to become the sign up form, I think those people would retain their spots. But again,
So did those people fill that form out thinking they're committing to it on Friday, or thinking that they're just like, maybe I'm interested?
it depends on how explicitly they're in the form, but it was explicitly said in the form that it was only an interest form, not a sign up.
Vice President Allen.
If the main motion were to be approved, I guess technically this would be like a UMSG. The UMSG has purchased the charter buses, so I'm sort of wondering if you have discussed with Sean / considered how like if student government is at all responsible if like God forbid someone like doesn't get back on the bus, or like we, you know, what's our liability there if we're sort of like in charge of the trip, and like who would dictate that if, you know, we don't know who's going, I guess.
So I can't speak for Sean, but, but with the liability waiver, that will address all those concerns in terms of liability. In terms of humanity, it would probably be best to set a couple of people in charge of the bus to say, here's a number that you can text if you're not coming back again, and get an emergency contact number for all those people. And then if you can't find them, then you call the dean on call and we'll find them and track them down and make sure they're okay. That's what I would suggest, something to that effect.
And follow, that person would be a member of student government.
They could be, also like. Full transparency, like I have been planning to go to this game with a few friends, and that group of people includes Ethan Crawford and Camden Olson. Of which we have another employee and another volunteer. If one of them really wanted to be like the student chaperone on the trip and be like a point of contact, you know, maybe they'd be willing to. I'm also going, I'd be willing to. I did discuss that with Colleen, and she said that for their Boston trip, they have 2 employees of CSI going down on the bus. So actually, we already kind of factored that in. Like I said, each bus fits 56 students. Total, that's 112 students. But the form that was sent out today only allows 110 students to sign up. So that leaves 1 student chaperone potentially. That seat has already been reserved, 1 on each bus for someone like that. So I actually did kind of already think of that. I guess I kind of neglected to mention that.
Any other questions for the speaker? Oh, sorry, Representative DeBarge.
Yes, so was there any sort of like plans about like what would happen if like the buses somehow broke down, like en route or when they were coming up to get the students on campus?
No, I think that the coach line would be held responsible for that, but I don't believe the student governors would be responsible for that. It's kind of out of our hands. They're the ones that would be paying for the service. Sean is drafting up a contract with them. But I don't think we'd be responsible for that.
Any further questions for the speaker? Once, going twice, and seeing as this is a main motion, we will now enter discussion. Senator Rocky.
When I've taken like a coach bus to Boston in the past, it's been like $50 each way. And so this is $100 total per person, so that's $50 each way, which seems, oh, sorry, that's all, yeah.
Vice President Allen.
This is more money than we've given any student organization so far this year in a single like allocation.
Senator Stewart.
Yeah, that is true, but.
That sounds like debate. This is discussion.
It's very important.
Any further discussion? Debate. Vice President Allen.
Yeah, excuse me. We had sort of a similar situation with the Concord Coach bus line from the Services Committee, which was sort of spearheaded by Senator Waters and Senator Bishu. And PBC placed a stipulation on this request that there has to be guaranteed interest for us to effectively like purchase the tickets. So we would ensure, like, I guess there had to be guaranteed people who were interested in like filling the spots. But in their case, it would be like purchasing the bus ticket coupons for us to like warrant spending student activity fee money on this. On that request, obviously this did not come through EBC because it's a main motion. But I know that there's an interest form that's already been sent out and that's great. But I would highly recommend a senator to make an amendment to make sure in some shape or form that there is like guaranteed interest. Obviously, a lot of people, it sounds like a lot of people are going, that's awesome. I just would be really cautious about this amount of money without guaranteed interest. While there, you know, it's very likely, I would really strongly encourage a senator to make an amendment to some effect of needing like guaranteed signups or whatever before we officially spend student activity fee money, because that's what we did with the other requests.
Senator Waters.
So I think that this is a great idea. I already have my tickets. I'm going. Anyone that doesn't have tickets and can't afford $100, I have a Facebook group I can link you to. Everyone should go because we haven't been since 2012 to Boston. It's a really big deal. I'm so excited. I agree with the BPFA point that we need demonstrated interest because you really don't want those kind of like, if you say that it's $100 per person if the buses are filled, every seat that isn't filled means a loss of $100 in the student activity fee. with that being said, I don't know how to amend it to include that because of how time sensitive this is. I'm sure that we have to pay the bus company very soon. The game is Friday. I want that amendment. I do not know how to possibly make the amendment while also getting the paycheck to the bus company. You're getting the check to the company on time. And making sure that this opportunity for students sign up. If 90 students sign up and they're expecting to be on a bus to Boston, and then the day before we're like, sorry, we didn't fund it because we didn't get all 110, that would look terrible for student government and also suck as a student that would be on the bus, I think.
Yeah, so I can just kind of shed light on like the logistics question. So student government really said like, if you guys told me we're only sending a full bus or we're only sending buses that are full, great. Then what we can do is only pay for one coach bus. I feel like there's no problem filling one coach bus with 56 students and sending that down. I don't know exactly how much money that would be, but you could amend the resolution to probably like $7,000, which would only be enough to cover one coach bus anyway, and only allow me to fund one coach. So that would be okay. More information is that the bus company requested that we send them a check no later than 5 p.m. on Thursday, I believe. I don't even want to wait that long. I think that makes us look bad and puts the trip in jeopardy. But if this were to pass tonight, it would go to cabinet tomorrow morning. If cabinet approved it, we could potentially pay the bus company tomorrow, send a check in the mail or wire it or charge it with a credit card, whatever. That could all be done tomorrow. But it's really up to you guys how much money you spend on this, whether it's one bus, two buses, whatever.
Senator Ricker.
Point of information from the speaker, I suppose. In the initial request form to gauge interest, was it explicitly clear that this is for students who already had tickets of some capacity, just to make sure?
Not initially, but I went and amended the form about an hour and a half ago, 2 hours ago, to send that. And I also put my contact information in the form and got a couple of questions about that. And I've actually been answering those emails and questions to clarify that tickets to the game are not provided and must be purchased by the student on them.
Vice President Chaplin.
Just to kind of go off of like Vice President Allen's point earlier, and I do think that we should add an amendment that stipulates that the funds don't get distributed until we get demonstrated interest, maybe not 110, but maybe something like 95 to 100 people signing up. And with the form being only sent out for a couple hours and getting 50, that shouldn't be too hard to do throughout the day tomorrow if we do a big push. And just like to explain my thinking on that, everybody who is already bought a ticket to this game, I personally hope they already have transportation plan. This is 3 days away. This isn't something that like all these students are looking for transportation plans right now. So, and like a lot of people might be planning on staying over the night and staying for the Saturday game. So I really do think it's important that we get that like demonstrated interest of people who are actually signing up. Just because I feel like most people already have transportation down there, and I'm not positive that this is a massive need that we have on campus, with it being the largest allocation that we have.
Advisor Sadelko.
So just two things I want you to consider. One is that I believe that all tickets to the game are for both games on Friday. There's a 4 o'clock game and a 7 o'clock game, so I think the tickets encompass both, so that might make it more worth some people's while to watch 2 games, just a thought. The other thing is that student government does have a history in the past of funding both tickets and buses to go to America East and go to nationals and things like that for students. It's been a while because we haven't been there for a while, but that is something that we've absolutely done before.
Representative Tanaka.
Like as a student, like being able to go to a conference championship, especially as a team who hasn't like gone in years, it's insane. Like this isn't an everyday occurrence. And as being like a person who dedicates like 20 hours a week, the whole year to their craft, like trying to get better, trying to, you know, get faster, stronger, like seeing you guys in the stands, it means like a lot. Like seeing you guys cheer, like clap, like doing anything, like it means a lot. Like it really pushes us to do 110% each time. And like, you saw what we did against UNH. We demolished them. We can win Hockey East with you guys like by our side. So I feel like this initiative, if passed, would be, you know, a great outlet for, I guess, students and athletes to sort of, I guess, support each other.
Summarize role bears, Representative DeMerchant.
Yeah, so this May motion, it's really gotten me thinking back to the May motion regarding the emergency funding for the costumes. I know a far cry from a month ago, and I'm seeing parallels with, you know, given the fact that it's very so soon. And I know there's like some like unknowns, and that makes me very hesitant, but I'm still very much in favor of this like May motion. It's not as Representative Tanaka has said, this isn't like a common sort of choice that everyone has to have. It's almost probably like a once in a lifetime situation of like being able to go down to Boston and supporting your college. So I want everyone to bear in mind the fact that like, I mean, I get it. I've been up on that stand. It sucks having to put up all the information and put it together into a nice cohesive manner and making sure everyone understands it. So I get it. But at the same time, this is Michael we're talking about. He's done his homework, he's made his connections, he's followed through with his structural procedures to make sure everything is following smoothly as much as possible. So yeah, that's just something I want everyone just to make sure to consider for this meeting motion.
Senator Howard.
I think this would look great for us as well, to kind of wrap up the year. We've only got about a month left. I think this would be a great event to have, even if it's more than we've given the club previously this year.
Vice President-elect Peterson.
I move to amend the motion to add the stipulation that at least 84 applicants equaling 75% of the projected occupancy must be committed before the action is won.
Second.
If that's a pleasure of the Senate, that's adopted. We'll now move into a period for discussion on the motion. President DeLorean.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? Like, if 84 students expressed interest, or if 83 students expressed interest, would that mean that the motion wouldn't pass, or would that mean that the motion could be appropriated to only fund one bus? Because that's more than one bus worth of people.
I'll let that be an open question. I'll let that be an open question.
Well, currently I'll just put it out there, the current amendment would not allow for that. And I swear, please don't amend an amendment, just kill it if you want to change that. But if you want to amend the amendment, we can get to a Robert's Rules hole, up to you guys. Any further discussion on the amendment? Debate? Senator Waters.
I think we should amend it with motion to previous. Or do I, motion to previous? Question mark?
Second.
Second, go.
All those in favor? All those opposed? All those abstaining? All those in favor of the amendment? All those opposed? All those abstaining? Okay, the amendment is dead. You're back to considering the motion at full and in debate. Vice President Allen.
Yeah, echoing what Vice President Chaplin said, I think that while this is a really great idea, everyone hopefully who has a ticket already does have like a plan to get there. So I would be in favor of paying for one coach bus, not two. But I know that that might not be the opinion of the Senate. And if not that, I would encourage the Senate to make a motion, to guarantee interest as Senator Peterson just did, and to add like a little bit of clarifying information. I would just say like, I would add a stipulation that there needed to be guaranteed interest for whatever, however many percent. I think that's fine, and it leaves it sort of open enough to interpretation that it isn't too hard to like fulfill within this period.
Senator Waters.
I have a question for the speaker. Why was the bus time picked the way it was? So right now, as it currently stands, if you take the bus from UMaine, it looked like that you wouldn't be able to watch both games. It looked like you'd only be able to watch the UMaine game. Is there any way we could afford to change it so that, is it a cost reason that we've made it so that we only bring it for the one game, or is it just logistics?
I think it was logistics.
Okay.
So, the bus, I can actually read you guys the itinerary, that's important information. They would arrive to the Circle of the Union at 1:45 p.m., depart Orno at 2 p.m., arrive to TD Garden at 6 p.m. Hockey game starts at 7:30 p.m. we would depart TD Garden at 11:30 p.m. to ensure that everyone could find the bus, that the game was done. If it goes to overtime, that's enough room for a buffer. When we win the game, that's enough time to like celebrate, watch the team have a good time on the ice, and just kind of get excited. And then we would return to Orno at 3:30 a.m. So getting there at 6 p.m. would allow students to probably watch the tail end of the first game. But if we wanted to get there before the first game starts, we would likely be leaving at 11 a.m., which I feel like is a barrier to students who might have to miss class or more class than they otherwise would have by leaving at 2 p.m.
Senator Crawford. I have a point of privilege. The poll's been open for 4 hours and there's 53 people expressing interest, so there's already 48% in 4 hours, so there hasn't been like a whole day for it to be advertised, so it's doing pretty well.
Senator Bone.
I feel like this is a very large amount. It's over 10% of our current unallocated figure. I feel like it's been up. A lot of people who would be going through social media and looking at what Student Gov does would have probably looked at their phones, you know, at dinner after it was posted, and they would have seen it. If they felt like they needed a ride, I feel like, yes, we will get more people, maybe, but I feel like the people who expressed interest in wanting to go to the event wasn't clearly stated that they need tickets. I just feel like that wasn't enough. I feel one bus would be the most that I would feel comfortable with funding, so cutting this in half and also adding the stipulation that we need to make sure that we have at least 75% filled of that single bus.
Senator Warren.
To make an amendment to fund one full coach bus on the guaranteed interest that 75% of that bus would be filled.
Second.
All right, hearing a second, that's adopted. We'll now move into a period for discussion on the amendment. President DeWarge.
Just to clarify, the way that that is worded would allow for me to go back to the bus company and say the Senate only wants one coach bus, how much is that? And then I fund that. So I can't tell you how much one coach bus is, but I feel like if the Senate wants one coach bus, that's the correct way that it should be worded.
Senator Harvey.
This might be point of privilege or not point of information, but you said there was 53 people.
There's 53 people already signed up right now. It's already 75%.
That's 75%.
Yeah.
So is amendment necessary if we already have the amount that we need?
Okay, sure. Senator Robbie.
Point of information for everyone. Were you meaning to imply that the amendment should say that in the event that 75% of the total capacity of 2 buses, should that not be met, then we only fund 1 bus? Because you need to say 75% of the capacity of only 1 bus.
I meant only one bus, because I said to only fund the one.
Oh,
Yeah, so it also slashes it to 1 bus.
Oh.
So it would be, okay, so just so everybody's aware, the amendment would make it so that there's only 1 bus being purchased and it would only be purchased in the event that 75% of the capacity of that bus was met on an interest form. Does that clarify? Perfect. Vice President Allen, we are in discussion.
Yeah, like President DeLore said, technically, the form that's on campus groups is an interest form, not a sign-up form. So it is important to have a distinction between interest and sign-up hypothetically.
Senator, or Representative DeMarchant.
Just, I guess a point of clarification, has the number, like, so for the max amount of people that was like, that would have been put out if this was not amended, was that ever made public?
Sorry, I don't understand your question.
So, given the fact that we're knowing the numbers are increasing just by the hour, I had questions about the fact that like, if people know about like, oh, there's like 2 buses going down, so is there like, has that information of 2 buses going down somehow made public?
No, the information of 2 buses going down hasn't been made public. The only thing that's been made public is there's 110 spots in the interest form. And who knows if students are even really paying attention to that. I don't know.
Chairman Olson.
I will say that sending emails to gauge interest hasn't proved the most fruitful way of like gauging interest.
And I'll leave it there. There you go. Discussion. We are on discussion of the amendment for the resolution. Debate. Okay, Senator Kemper.
I feel very strongly that we should not take the interest form that was sent out today as a commitment to go form, because I think that it's very likely that people either like haven't purchased tickets or it's just like, I just looked at it on my phone, it does not look like it's something that you would be committing to, it's like purely an interest form. So I think that's like an essential part of this process that would.
Senator Waters.
We haven't made this tournament since 2012. Let's find 100 students and let's get them here. And even if they already have their ride set up, which full disclosure, Kate and I are going on Friday. We planned on taking the train. That was our plan. But like for students that planned on driving themselves, they could sign up for this and then save some gas money. And then they're carpooling and also saving the environment. Woo, go plan it. I think that this doesn't happen very often. We don't get the chance to do this enough. So let's send 2 buses. I don't want to send 1 bus.
Right, Senator Stewart.
I second that strongly.
Senator Rocky.
So this amendment would only fund 1 bus, and we don't know for sure how much 1 bus would cost. In the event that like the 75% threshold is met, I guess it should be funded, right? I'm sorry. But like, would that mean that we would have to fund the bus regardless of the cost, even if it's something like kind of astronomical or?
I mean, I guess that is how it's worded, but it would not be astronomical. It's still only $10,000 appropriated right now. So if for some crazy reason the bus company was like, actually only 1 bus is gonna be more than $10,000, then they definitely won't do it. But I don't think that would happen. I got a quote from Sear Bus Line, who again doesn't have the availability to do this, and they're located in Bangor, so it's cheaper. But 1 bus with Sear Bus Line would have been $3,000. Seems like 1 bus with the company that we're going with is $5,000. So the best estimate I can give you is it's $5,000, and I really don't think it would be much more.
Senator Ricker.
This might be a crazy kind of idea, but what's the chance we can like reconvene tomorrow after we try getting interest tomorrow, but like what the numbers may look like, so that we can have a definitive financial idea.
We'll reconvene the Senate.
Yes.
I will not be available to chair, so if you can, maybe.
What a privilege. Special meetings of the Senate need like 24 or 48 hours notice of the chair of the meeting, which is Keegan. And so this would be like past the due date, that wouldn't be possible. I think we'll try.
Vice President Chadwick.
I also just want to like kind of differentiate here for us, like both the student sections are completely sold out. The students who are going are already going. We are not like sending new students down to this trip. Like we are just providing some transportation for students who are already planning on going. So like, I think there's like a difference between like us being like, we're sending all these students there. We need to support this event. Like they're already going down there and both those student sections are already full and we're not involved with getting that like number up high. We're just trying to provide a service for some students who are interested. And I really think we should be doing the 1 bus as this amendment is written.
Amendment 2, yes. All right. Senator Harvey.
I have a question for President DeLorge. When do you plan to send out the the actual confirmation emails to make sure people are actually going, if you have to sign up for it?
I would need to work with Director Carroll on making like a formal announcement on our social media, talking with athletics about making a formal announcement on their social media or email blast to maniacs and others. I would also need to coordinate an email to all students who have registered for the interest form, saying that either this form is being transitioned into the actual sign-up form or that we're creating a sign-up form. So I need to do all of that tomorrow afternoon. But that announcement would go live tomorrow afternoon and we would have a list, probably a 1 full bus by the end of tomorrow.
Senator Bone.
Question for President DeLorge. Would the liability form be sent out to students, like they need to fill out the liability form before they sign up to be on the bus? Or is it they sign up for the bus and then give them the form?
I believe the way we can do it, and I've done it actually in this interest form, is Colleen helped me put together a waiver that is used by the university for travel, not used by student government, but the capability to put our own waiver is already in there. So I believe Sean is looking at doing it electronic through the sign up. So you'd be signing up and checking the box at the same time.
Representative DeMarchi?
This might sound ridiculous, but I hope you can bear with me, everyone. What if we just simply made an amendment to keep the funds, but simply made the stipulation of if there is 75% of one coach line, then that money is only used for that one coach. And then if it bumps up to that bus is filled up and there's never 75 for that another bus, the two be sent down. If that makes any sense, so that the money is sort of guaranteed, but it's only for a full bus and 75% of the second bus. Would that make sense, or is that too complicated and too stringy?
Senator Howard.
Point of information for anybody really, what reason would we have other than funds to not send to buses? So other than.
Vice President Allen.
I mean, I think what everyone's been discussing, like we talked about. Vice President Chapman talked about like guaranteed interest versus transportation. I guess money would be a big one, but like the whole discussion that we had so far. And I would also add on, I would just like encourage the Senate not to get too into the weeds about this. Because this hypothetically, for this to be like a reality does have to happen very fast. So while I do agree with the current amendment that's on the floor, I would like encourage the Senate to recognize that we don't have a ton of time and that placing really restrictive stipulations would really hinder the process.
Advisor Sadelka.
I guess I don't usually have an opinion, but I just want to throw a couple of things out there. One is last year we funded the cheerleaders for $10,000 for uniforms. And there are less than 112 cheerleaders. Last year, rugby went to nationals and they got all of their tier money for their sport club and we gave them another roughly $10,000 to go to nationals. We give a lot of money to the students who are highly involved. This year, we have seen more of our student body involved in hockey team games than we've ever seen in years, 10, 20 years probably. The student section is full all the time. And those are probably students who aren't necessarily in clubs and don't already receive a payback from their student activity fee. Some people never access the money that they pay into their student activity fee at all. This might be tapping a different audience that we normally get. So just want to put that out there. I don't have an opinion on what you decide. I support you no matter what. But I just want to put that out there.
Senator Bowman.
We currently have 0 students that have officially signed up and we know are going to this event. I feel like if we don't do the amendment that is currently being discussed, that it is a gamble of $5,000 of student activity fee money.
Senator Buzzell.
I'll move the previous question.
Sorry, I had a feeling. All those in favor?
Moving the previous.
Moving the previous on the amendment, right? Not the whole thing, just the vote on the amendment. All those opposed? All those abstaining? All those in favor of the amendment to the resolution? Here we go. One. Up high, folks. Vote and vote confidently. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm starting over. High. Like just extend your arms. I know you can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And all those abstaining? The amendment fails. We are now back to debate on the full resolution. Senator Howard.
I think especially since there's premise for something like this happening before, I think depending on interest, moving forward with something like Representative Burchin mentioned earlier, with like if you get 75% of the population do buses, or even more than that, I think would make the most sense. If students would like to go, then they should go.
All right, Senator Harvey.
So I completely understand the threshold, the percent of people that you want to have, just, the money's actually going to use. But I think the only problem that I would have with that is the students who look at the form, they see that they sign up for it and everything, they buy their tickets in advance. But let's say that the threshold is not met, those students are then out of a ride, they're out of their money. And they're probably not gonna be able to get down to the bottom, or to the game, so it's just they're out of money, out of pocket, and I don't think that'd be completely fair to those students.
Senator Shamada.
It's my belief that we're not inhibiting anyone to go down to the games if the tickets are already purchased, so I don't think that the lack of the 75% threshold is gonna be prohibiting anyone.
Senator Stewart.
I feel like we've been talking about this before, like this only happens like once, very, very, not very often at all, and it's 10 grand, like Lori said, we've given 10 grand for cheerleading that close. We keep going back around in circles and circles on this issue, I feel like there's no need to, like we've been discussing this for what, 40 minutes now?
Good point. Any new points of debate, and that is all that will be accepted. Senator Waters.
First off, and those cheerleading uniforms did not even fit. Let's say that first off. They did not even fit. I looked terrible. Second, I don't know if this is a new point, but it's a point. If you asked me about 4 hours ago whether I would be okay with this not facing the same stipulation that Senator Michaud's bus bill faced, I'd be really upset about that, because I think that executive motions, and yes, it's sponsored by Senator Peterson, but you know, should face the same scrutiny that senators do. But this is just something that's so unique. So I think that we can't do scrutiny when stuff is this last minute. The time crunch just doesn't allow us. And it looks so terrible for student gov, like you said, if we say, here, we might bring a bus. Never mind, we're not going to bring a bus.
Vice President Allen.
I believe, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, that the main motion is right now like as stated, and
It
there's,
is, yeah, it is
yeah,
entirely.
and there's no stipulation about percentages at all.
Correct, that's correct. Senator Rocky.
I move to amend the motion to stipulate that should 75% of the seats on 2 buses not be filled, and only 1 bus will be sent. And then I guess the fund would be returned unallocated, is that right? Thank you, yeah.
Second.
Shall. Yep. On bus, all right, just for my notes. Hearing a second, that's adopted. We'll now move into a period for discussion on the amendment.
I have a question for Senator Rocky, okay. Senator Rocky, so you said there'd be 75% on both buses. Yeah, so if one bus had 100%, we could take some of those people over on the other bus, so then that could reach 75%, or would that not be possible? The way I intended it was that should 75% of the 110 figure not be met, then only 1 bus would be sent sometimes. Yeah.
Senator Bone.
Commissioner, would you answer, what is the cutoff time for the sign up form? That we know that we have the students before we like commit and actually send the bill.
I feel like it would have to be tomorrow night at like 4 o'clock, so like. I'd be doing all the work I possibly could to like coordinate with everyone. I know Lori would be willing to like help spread the word and talk with athletics as well. Like this would kind of be like an all hands on deck thing all day tomorrow. Pam would be involved, Sean would be involved, but I feel like the cutoff would be 4 o'clock. Also, the wording of the resolution that Jeff wrote up doesn't include 2 buses, even though that's the quote for 2 buses. So I think the amendment is worded such that if that's what you guys want to do, like, I'm giving my opinion here, you cut me off if I'm not allowed to, but I feel like this is fine. I think we should send students, if this is the way you guys want to send the students, that's fine. We only send 1 bus, that's fine. I just got a quote for 2 buses. So I haven't really given my 2 cents on this, but if that's what you guys want to do with the amendment, that's cool. I just want to send students.
You're technically the speaker, so you can say whatever you want. Senator Crawford.
I would pick a quick point of information. So if you amended it to 1 bus, you would have to shut down the interest form like immediately because there's only like 3 seats left.
Correct.
Like immediately, like speed dial, calling Fraser and shut it down.
Probably, yeah.
And what happens in the next 5 minutes if like 5 people sign up?
Well, again, that's only the interest form, so we'd have to like transition to a sign up form, close that and open the sign up form tomorrow morning or whatever.
So technically, the number currently that, actually, never mind, I'm the chair. Vice President Chaplin.
Like the interest form like doesn't represent actual signups. Those are just people who have said like, I might be interested on that on Friday and then like could forget about it or have other plans or buy a train ticket. It is not them signing up, and that is not the thing that we're going to go off of for the 75% figure, just to absolutely clarify that.
Good discussion. Any further discussion on the amendment? No, it was discussion. You didn't give an opinion, you just said the fact. Debate. All right, Senator Thompson.
We've been talking about this for a very long time, and I think it's such an important motion, and I'm glad we can iron out the details. The amendment on the floor right now for 75%, I think it's fair. It creates a margin of error where we're missing that 25%. We just send one bus, which I think is a good compromise. This amendment seems the fairest and the most agreeable for most of the arguments I've been hearing.
Senator Howard.
I'm very concerned with this amendment and I hope it moves forward.
Right, any new points for debate on this amendment? Senator Warren.
I think it's just important that we send a bus, no matter what. This is such a unique and important event, and students deserve to be able to go to it. There's also the issue that maybe students might be able to afford the ticket, but wouldn't be able to afford maybe hundreds of thousands, not hundreds of thousands, sorry, hundreds of dollars in gas money. Inflation's not that bad yet. In gas money to be able to get down to Boston or even afford a train ticket for that matter. I think it's important that we reach a compromise that would still allow students to be able to go using the student activity fee money that they have paid in.
Senator Mitchell.
As someone who's done something like this similar, different company, there's clearly a need for these type of programs on campus. So I think this amendment finds a good compromise and makes each side happy of the debate, that we only send one bus if we have the people, or if there's enough, we can send two, so our money's not wasted.
Correct. New points for debate only. And I'm gonna start cutting people off if they're not. Senator Rocky.
Point of information, how do I like Robert's rules us to a vote?
You would vote? Yes, you would. Senator Rocky.
Previous.
Second.
All right. All those in favor of, sorry. Moving to previous. All those opposed, all those abstaining, all those in favor of the amendment to the main motion. All right, all those opposed, all those abstaining, the amendment passes. We are now back into debate on the topic. Senator Kemper.
I move to limit the further debate to 5 minutes.
Second. It'll be a motion to suspend the rules.
Suspend the rules to limit debate to 5 minutes.
All right. Second, hearing a second, we'll now move into discussion on the limiting of debate. Any discussion on that?
What, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, point of information, since this is a main motion, does it need 2/3 in the end to pass?
No.
Okay.
It is treated as a regular resolution. Any discussion on limiting debate to 5 minutes? Any debate on limiting debate to 5 minutes? Senator Warren.
Please.
Okay. Any further debate on limiting debate to 5 minutes? Seeing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? All those abstaining? All right. We got 5 minutes. 5 minutes. The Senator Bowman.
We are the Senate, we're here to represent the student body. How many people here have tickets to the game? Just show of hands. How many people who have raised their hands currently have rides to the game? How many people would take this bus if this is passed? Okay.
Okay, Senator Thompson. I moved to previous. I didn't. All right, all those in favor, after making me look that up. Moving to previous, all those opposed, all those abstaining. All right, all those in favor of the main motion as amended to only send, we get it, all right, are we all? Yeah. Yes, all right, so if this is to pass as is right now, which it has to, because we're taking a vote, we would only send 2 buses should 75% of both of the full capacity be met. If it's not, we would only send 1 bus, all right? Is there any confusion on that?
Point of order, it's a 75% of interest, not.
It doesn't say interest, it says of seats, you said seats.
Yes, it's.
Or it seems, I'm making the executive decision, it has to be the sign up sheet, are we all cool with that? Cool, all right, all those in favor? Of the whole thing? Everyone explain 3 seconds ago. All those opposed? All those abstaining? The motion passes. Now we can enter executive session, so all people not in, actual member of the UMSG